Welcome back, listeners, to Red Hunt, where I, Red, dive deep into the intriguing world of relationship stories sourced from Reddit. Get ready to embark on an emotional roller coaster with me as we unravel the truths behind the digital tapestry of love and heartbreak. So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating tales. My boyfriend of 4 years doesn't want to move in together. Am I being delusional? My boyfriend and I have been together for over 4 years. I'm feeling desperate and unsure about what to do, so I'm reaching out to hear other people's opinions. He takes a long time to meet milestones in our relationship, like asking me out, introducing me to his family and friends, and becoming an official couple. It has been frustrating at times, especially waiting a whole year just to meet his immediate family. I've been patient, but it feels like the waiting will never end. Currently, both of us live with our parents and live close to each other. However, we only see each other about once a week. I moved back home for university due to the pandemic and have been saving money from a decently paid job. Money isn't an issue for him either. He wants to buy a house with me in the next few years, but I think it's a risk to commit to a mortgage without living together first. While he sees renting as a waste of money, I don't have a choice but to move out soon. My parents are leaving the country and I want to stay here. I will have no one besides him and a few friends who are busy with their own lives. He suggested that I could move into his grandparents' house to save money, or that we could rent a one-bedroom apartment and he would pay for half while still living with his parents because he wants to be close to his family and pets. He has made it clear that he isn't ready to move out, and I can see a scenario where he stays with his parents until he's 30. There's nothing wrong with that, but I can't continue in this situation. I am deeply invested in this relationship and want to start my adult life with him, but it seems like he doesn't want the same. It hurts to think that I will be on the other side of the city, spending most of my income on rent, feeling unsafe, and thousands of miles away from my family while he gets to stay at home, be around his family, and save more money. I feel like I'm not a priority to him. Ultimately, there's no guarantee that we will buy a house together or have a future. What if he decides he's still not ready after the 2 years he mentioned? Will this dynamic continue? It doesn't make sense to me. If I were in the same situation without him, I would go back to my parents and make a living in my home country. There are many options and prospects for me there. My desire to stay here is influenced by him, but it's a choice I'm making and not something I hold against him. Considering all these factors, it's inevitable that resentment will grow from both sides, regardless of what happens. I feel lost right now. In summary, he's fine with our current living arrangement even after 4 years together, while everything in my life will change. We're both getting older, and I'm not sure if I can invest more years into this relationship. It sounds like you're in a difficult situation where your boyfriend doesn't seem ready to take the next steps in your relationship. It's understandable that you're feeling frustrated and uncertain about the future. It may be worth having an open and honest conversation with him about your concerns and what you envision for your future together. Am I the antagonist for calling my sister fat after she insulted my son? I am 44 years old, and I have a 19-year-old son named Max. Max has always been slightly overweight, not fat but not skinny either, weighing around 250 pounds at 6'4". He was incredibly active in high school, playing football as well as wrestling for his school. He has always been a little embarrassed by his extra weight, but has been slowly growing more and more confident as he has gotten older, which has been incredibly encouraging to watch. My 39-year-old sister, who I will call Beth, and I have never had a strong relationship. During our childhood, she was often given preferential treatment due to minor health conditions she had, which led to her constantly tormenting me until I was finally able to move out at 18. After I moved, I went limited contact with all family members. However, when I began to have children, my wife encouraged me to try to be more involved with family for the sake of my kids. My children became very close with my nieces and nephews over the years, so I continued to keep the peace for the sake of my kids. All of this leads to today, my niece's 22nd birthday. Of course, my family attended the party which was held at Beth's house. In the beginning, everything was going fine. The kids were spending time with their cousins while my wife and I were enjoying the party as well. Max was sitting on the couch in the living room playing a game on his cousin's Xbox along with his younger cousin when Beth decided to provide the unwanted comment of, Max, if you spent a little less time on those video games, you could probably drop a few pounds. Maybe find yourself a girlfriend. The party fell quiet as Max sat there embarrassed by Beth's comments. I responded to Beth by saying, "Don't be ridiculous, this is a party. We're all sitting around eating and drinking, having a good time. Why are you trying to embarrass him?" To which she replied, "I wasn't trying to embarrass him. I was just trying to offer him some advice. It's not my fault he's so sensitive." After I heard that, I snapped back at Beth saying, "Who the heck do you think you are to be giving my son advice about his weight? Max goes for a run every morning and works as a carpenter. When was the last time you climbed a flight of stairs?" Beth, looking offended, snarled, "Good Lord, I was just trying to help him out and you insult me like that. You always did have an anger issue. I feel bad for your wife." After that, I snapped and yelled back, "You're just a rude person who tried to embarrass my son in front of all our family just so you could get some attention. Then you have the audacity to try and insult me? Go fuck yourself, you stupid person." After that, my wife, kids, and I all left. Since then, my phone has been bombarded with texts and calls from family members telling me to apologize. I spoke to my wife about it, and while she agrees Beth was out of line for saying what she said, I took it too far and need to apologize to Beth and my niece for causing a scene on her birthday. So, am I the asshole? Beth crossed a line with her comment, and you stood up for your son in the moment. While it might be best to apologize for causing a scene at the party, it's important to address the underlying issue with Beth and set boundaries moving forward. I told my friend her boyfriend is chubby. Yeah, this isn't my best moment and I'm very embarrassed. My friend and her boyfriend are a match made in hell. From what she told me, he is verbally abusive and nasty. He mentioned cheating on her during her birthday, always screams at her. She thinks a lot of women from her job want to be with him, and he manipulated her into having unprotected sex and made her believe that birth control isn't a good option because it will ruin her fertility in the future. The guy is horrible, and I have no idea why she's even with him. I feel like the constant issues she has with him are draining our friendship. It seems they are doing really well now, as she keeps reminding me all the time that the relationship is going so well. I have been hearing they are doing well for the longest time. So basically, my fiancé and I are doing temporary long distance due to the Kone fiancé visa. It won't be a long time, maybe a year max. My fiancé and I are in constant contact. We talk a lot on the phone, text, and FaceTime. I must say, as hard as this situation is, he really does it all to make me feel comfortable and secure in our relationship, even when being long distant. Last night he texted me when my friend and I were out, so I texted him back and my friend commented that she thinks he's clingy. I think she's a bit jealous because she always complains that her boyfriend is dry at texting. She then went on to tell me that she could never be with my boyfriend because he's clingy and that she likes being the clingy one in the relationship. She also said that my fiancé doesn't have a masculine build like her boyfriend. She then proceeded to say that he's too soft and feminine in appearance, while her boyfriend is built like a real man. I was beyond pissed. I was livid. My fiancé is Korean, and I have heard in the past that people compared Asian men to looking feminine. My fiancé has a military build, and he was a Marine in Korea. When I met his dad's friend in Korea, he even told me that only a small percent of men become Marines, and that my fiancé was a part of that small percent of men. I told my friend, "Are you aware that he was in the Marines?" And I told her about the small percent of men that become Marines, and that my fiancé is a part of that percent of people. I then added on by saying, "From what I've seen, your boyfriend seems to be chubby, but you don't see me criticizing his appearance and saying my fiancé is physically more of a man." She went pretty quiet and said, "You're right, but I'm so upset over her criticizing my fiancé and claiming her boyfriend is physically more of a man. I'm not proud of what I said about her boyfriend. I don't know if I should apologize or if I was right by putting her in her place. It's understandable that you were upset by your friend's comments about your fiancé, especially when it seemed like she was being jealous and judgmental. While it's good that you stood up for your partner, it might still be worth considering apologizing if you feel like your response crossed a line. Keep in mind that maintaining your friendship might be more important than winning an argument." I just completely stopped talking to my friend out of blue. I, 20-year-old female, had a best friend, 20-year-old female, who I had a lot of fun with. I won't deny that. However, I always had to be careful around her. She would accuse me constantly of favoring other people over her, but in reality, she was the one doing that to me. She would get close to everyone else and ignore me when someone she was close to came along. For example, during an event, there was only one seat next to another mutual friend of ours, and she took that seat and left me alone. She always made me sit in the corner while she sat with other people, and she never talked to me in class. I always had to be the one to initiate conversation. If I brought up these issues with her, somehow I was always accused of doing the same things to her. I could never use my phone around her, even if someone called me. She would get upset that she wasn't included. I remember feeling really ugly once during an event where I dressed up. My old school friends called me and gave me compliments that made my day better. She was talking to another close friend at that time. And when she appeared in the background of the call, my friends didn't ignore her but also didn't acknowledge her because they didn't know her. Later she left, and when I returned, she accused me of having other friends. She is really, really pretty, and everyone thinks so. However, she always finds a way to put me down. For example, when I told her I liked a guy, she told me he was very ugly and would suit me. She said it as a joke, but it still hurt me. I have always been supportive of her and boosted her confidence, and even if I wasn't pretty enough, that comment felt really rude. During photos, she always insists on standing in the better lighting. If I happened to be in better lighting, she would ask me to move, and I would comply because it made her feel pretty. She uses me to take all her pictures, but she never feels the need to do the same for me. I can never repost group photos we take because she doesn't look good in them, so I can't repost anything my classmates post, even on close friends on social media. Mind you, I don't think she looks ugly in any of them, but if she feels she doesn't look her best, I am fine with it, although it does get tiring. When I started talking to a guy I liked, I asked her to keep it a secret. However, she told this secret to a guy I really dislike because he spread rumors about me. I don't mind that they're friends. All I asked was for her not to talk about me to him. On her birthday, when I posted a compilation of her looking cute and pretty, her only comment was, "Finally you decided to post some nice pictures of mine." I have always asked her what to post because she genuinely believes I post unflattering pictures of her. Most of the time she doesn't look ugly at all, so I don't know what criteria she has. Although I developed ways to figure it out, like only posting when her face is sideways or on the right side and she's smiling with her teeth, I still don't really know. She never took pictures with me, but now that we don't talk, she takes pictures with all the people she used to be close to. She never gave me a gift on my birthday, but she gifts other people during other events. I don't know. Maybe I sound really petty, but I want honest opinions if I was just being a no-brainer teenager for ghosting her. And no, she never tried to talk again either. She just went along with it. In summary, I stopped talking to my friend because she always played the victim, did better things with other people, and blamed me for it. She also revealed my secrets. It sounds like your friend was constantly putting you down, disregarding your feelings, and favoring others over you. It's understandable why you decided to distance yourself from her. Trust your instincts and prioritize your own well-being. How would you move forward with them after their behavior post-birth? I'm a 34-year-old female who gave birth to a beautiful boy a year ago. My partner, also 34 years old and male, was supportive throughout the pregnancy. However, after the baby was born, his behavior changed. This was due to a situation with his parents, where they broke my trust in a hurtful way. Despite recent pressure, we visited them. Ever since then, my partner has become extremely angry towards me. He accuses me of being controlling and abnormal and tells me to just move on. He has used very cruel words, which I will explain later. During a doctor's visit 6 weeks after giving birth, a male doctor asked about sex. I informed him that we had not engaged in it yet. Without asking me or checking if I wanted it, he immediately prescribed birth control. I believe my partner took this as a sign to proceed. However, I was not ready at all. I had a second-degree tear, was incredibly exhausted, and overwhelmed by taking care of the baby. Over the following year, I have been subjected to rants, shouting, insults, and aggression from my partner. This made the idea of having sex with him even more difficult and pushed me further away. Luckily, I have been able to stay at home with the baby. Despite this, he accuses me of being lazy and doing nothing for him or around the house. He claims that I am not putting in enough effort and calls me derogatory names. He has a distorted view of my past relationships and believes false things about me. He thinks I am boring, weird, and controlling. Even when I attempt to tidy up the house, he criticizes my efforts. He tells me I am tapped and labels me a control freak when I ask him to leave the room so I can calm down. His anger also extends to tasks around the house. He starts unnecessary projects on weekends to avoid spending time with me or the baby. If I request his presence, he becomes furious and complains that he can't get anything done. He calls me ungrateful and accuses me of not appreciating anything. He even threatens to let the house become filthy and claims I am responsible for it. He berates me for not having a job, saying he does not force me to get one. He states that I am not good enough for him, and he tries to control me sexually. When he is not angry, he acts sarcastically about playing with the baby, implying that I need to ensure his involvement so that my mother does not accuse him of neglect. When I am in tears from his emotional abuse, which happens in front of the baby, he tells me to leave if I am unhappy. He suggests using the money my mother gave us and leaving his house, even though it is both of ours. He claims that I have it easy and that I am too sensitive and foolish. He slams doors and cupboards, shouts, and swears. He admits to not being a nice person and uses this as an excuse for his behavior. He tells me I am not what he desires and that I will never be good enough. He insists I do not make an effort to please him sexually. Eventually, he calms down, apologizes, and tries to hug me, expecting me to accept it. Living in this situation, I am constantly on edge and feel like I am walking on eggshells. He might be kind for a few days but then explode at me again. We sought therapy, and the therapist spoke to him alone previously. She seemed unaware of his behavior. She asked him if he thought he was the controlling one and noticed signs of emotional abuse and coercive behavior. When I express how his actions have made me feel, I am filled with deep sadness and self-doubt. I strive to be the best parent possible and not let my depression and anxiety, which I already struggle with, negatively affect my son's upbringing. He has made me question myself and feel like a terrible person. I don't know what to believe or how to feel. He accuses me of being too sensitive and precious. Sometimes, he acts as if he cannot remember his actions and denies saying certain things. He believes everything would be fine if we had sex. However, I don't feel comfortable, secure, or trusting enough to engage in a sexual relationship with him when he treats me this way. Even now, after a year has passed, he continues to make comments about sex in between periods of anger. He uses passive-aggressive remarks like, "You're using my sickness as an excuse to avoid me." Today, he even said, "You don't like me anyway." To be honest, I responded by saying, "I care about and love you, but no, I don't like you." He labeled me a narcissist for this statement. Although he has been relatively calm and nice for several weeks now, I know it won't last. Eventually, he will expect a transactional relationship focused on sex. When I cannot bring myself to comply, I anticipate the return of his hurtful comments. I am unsure of what I should do in this situation. I don't want to continue living like this, but I don't know if leaving is the right choice. I do not have a job, and I don't have family or friends nearby whom I can stay with. I feel trapped in a cycle of repeating patterns, while my partner believes I am the one who needs to change. Considering all this, if you were in the same situation, would you choose to stay or leave? And if you decided to stay, how do you think you could improve the relationship? I'm really sorry you're going through this. It's important to prioritize your own well-being and safety. Given the emotional abuse and coercive behavior you've described, it might be best to consider leaving the relationship. If you do decide to stay, therapy and setting clear boundaries could be helpful in working on the issues, but ultimately, it's up to you to decide what feels right for your situation. Am I the antagonist for telling my mom the truth about how horrible she can be? My mom and I, a 25-year-old female, have always had a strained relationship. During my childhood, I tried my best to behave. I excelled academically, graduating at the top of my class and going on to attend a prestigious university. I never engaged in risky behaviors like drinking, using drugs, or engaging in promiscuity, and I tended to be more introverted. Sadly, my mother dealt major blows to my self-esteem as I grew up. My mother is emotionally and verbally abusive. She perceives any slight disagreement as a personal attack. Every mistake I make, both in the past and present, is blown out of proportion. She labels me as stupid for being wrong or as a fucking idiot for acting like a know-it-all. These insults were a constant presence in my life. I witnessed her attacking and insulting my dad, who had been an excellent father to me. My brother no longer has contact with her, except for special events. My sister had struggled with alcoholism during her teenage years, and I remember how tough it was for her, as my mom would often lose control and become physically aggressive. My mom always told me to avoid becoming like my sister and continuously put her down. Interestingly enough, now that I am an adult, it seems like the roles have switched, and my sister actively avoids me. My mom resorts to belittling others whenever there is even a slight issue. Now that I've grown up, I am lost. I used to believe that I should give her space because of her difficult upbringing. However, every argument we have ends up in shouting matches. I am unable to defend myself properly or even apologize sincerely, as she can sense insincerity, leading to more fighting. She accuses me of hating her and questions why I am so confrontational, completely disregarding the fact that she is the one who starts the arguments, hurls insults, and puts others down. When she is in a bad mood, she seeks me out and finds a reason to be angry with me. I have come to realize that I cannot find peace unless I stoop to her level. Unfortunately, that is precisely what I do now. If she claims that I am miserable, I point out instances where she made me and my siblings feel miserable. If she calls me confrontational, I inform her that her offensive way of communicating is why she has no friends. If she tells me she walks on eggshells around me, I remind her that it is her own actions that have caused her son to cut off contact. Essentially, I search for her faults that have caused me immense pain and throw them back at her. I know it's not right, but it certainly shuts her up. So, am I the one in the wrong here? Your mother has clearly been emotionally abusive towards you for a long time, and it's understandable that you've developed these defensive mechanisms to protect yourself. It's important to prioritize your own mental health and set boundaries with toxic people, even if they're family. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.